Irwin, Marshall and Mellor on the front row. When the flag dropped, it was Phil Mellor who got away quickly, and he got his nose in front going into the first right-hander.
The Formula One machine that has been disappeared.
As they came through the start and finish at the end of lap 1, it was number 10 Mellor in front, with Dunlop not far behind. Number 40 Alan Irwin was third, with Roger Marshall fourth. At the end of lap 2, Mellor was still in command, Dunlop was still chasing. Alan Irwin had gone through in third, with Marshall well back in fourth. All it seemed was not well with the 750 Suzuki. And the next bunch, with Johnny Ray and Robert Dunlop well up, were closing the gap. Dunlop was also closing in on Mellor, and as the fans looked up the finishing straight at the end of lap 3, it was Dunlop's 750 Honda in front, with Mellor just in his slipstream. But a vicious wobble suggested Mellor was having handling problems. And as Marshall lost more ground, Alan Irwin was all alone in third place. At the end of lap 4, leader Dunlop was well clear. In second place, Phil Mellor was clearly having problems, and Irwin was getting closer all the time. And as the rest of the field came through, there was no Roger Marshall. He'd had to pull in with an oil leak. Dunlop was still in front in lap 5, and then a buzz went round the pits as Alan Irwin came through in second place, just ahead of Mellor. Local fans got another boost when Robert Dunlop went through in fourth. In the end, it was Joey Dunlop who took the checkered flag, his 9th win at the Northwest and his first win on the new Formula One Honda. Alan Irwin took second, and Robert Dunlop had squeezed past Mellor to finish third. Joey, many congratulations and a victory on the 750. How did the race go for you?
Oh, it went really well. I picked an intermediate front that was really wet at the roundabout and down St. Martin's Cross.
And Phil Mellor, he must have scared you at the start. He got off to a flyer, didn't he?
He did. His bike's really quick. It was the big 1100. I knew I could catch him across this bit where it was dry.
52.
It wasn't too bad.
You appeared to have some problems. What happened?
Puncture, flat tyre.
When did that happen?
God knows. It just got worse and worse as the tyre must have been going down and down. I was going to pull in then, but I saw the checkered flag, so I kept going.
After the first 2 laps, you must have felt you were going to have your first win of the Northwest.
Yes, maybe, but Lady Luck's not smiling today.
It was heavy rain at the start, so up the back there, the whole way to Coleraine, round the roundabout, down to Mathers. So that there, I was taking no chances, and it started drying up there. So I started letting it go a bit.
Joey, can I ask you to sum up this young lad's performance? Brother Robert getting a 3rd place.
Oh, it's a good job, isn't it?
He's done well. Robert, last year you won the 350. You said it was the highlight of your career, finishing 3rd in the Superbike. How does that compare?
Yeah, that's quite good as well.
How did the bike go and how did the race go for you?
The bike went very well. I was lucky enough for it dried up. I had slicks on the bike in front and it dried up and it was okay then.
You disappeared after the 3rd lap. What happened?
Well, on the first lap, breaking down into Metropole, the little valve popped out on the top of the fork leg and it released the fluid onto my visor. I could wipe it for so long with my hand, but then it just got that thick on the visor, I couldn't see, and I tried to ride with the visor up, the fluid got on my eyes, and it's impossible at them speeds.
3 Englishmen had taken the honours in the Superstock race. Number 61, Roger Hurst, had won it. Number 80, Ray Swan, was second, with number 62, Gary Lingham, in third. It was 3 locals who were well to the fore in the first 350 race, with number 1, Brian Reid, number 30, Gary Kahn, and number 4, Stephen Cull, all together as they swept into Metropole first time round. But amongst the leading group, there was no sign of Joey Dunlop. He was well down the field after stalling at the start. By lap 3, Reid and Kahn were ahead of Cull, and once again Kahn outbraked the Formula 2 world champion at the Metropole. By lap 5 at Metropole, Joey Dunlop had moved up to 4th place, but he was finding Steve Hislop difficult to shake off. As they rounded Metropole for the last time, the order was Gary Khan first and Reid second. It was turning into a good race. Cull was well clear in third place, with Dunlop in fourth, now in front of Hislop. And that was how they finished, with Gary Khan on the Honda 250 getting his first international win and a first victory over the Northwest Circuit.
Yes, it was great. I was just very happy at the end, but came back a bit into the last day in the straight there. I think he missed a gear or something.
Yeah, because coming out of the chicane, he was in front of you. You must have thought it was over then.
Well, I thought I had it won before the chicane, then he used his head and I brake me into it. And coming round the end, I really went to town round the last corner.
Plenty of smiles then from the winner, but none from a bitterly disappointed Reid. He knew a mistake had cost him victory.
I passed him going into the chicane on the last lap, and I thought I had him, and just at the last corner the bike jumped out of gear.
Dunlop had done well to make his way up to fourth place, but what had happened at the start?
She just wouldn't start. She never did it in her life before.
You did manage to get up through the field. It was a good race.
I was going to pull on the first lap to keep it to the second race, but then I was starting to enjoy it, so we just kept on going.
How do you think you can go on the big one, the production?
It depends a lot on the one.
David, happy enough for the start?
Oh, very much so. When he's going, he's really going. So when we get them going, then we're there.
Next for Dunlop was the 750 production race, but the man in pole position on the grid was Englishman Kevin Maudsley.
I think it could win it, but it all depends on how Joey goes. I mean, this bike's a lot quicker than his, and well, just have to see how it goes, basically.
Could be a good race.
Could be, yes. Oh, it's a good one for me.
It wasn't, and Maudsley wasn't in the hunt as Dunlop cruised home for his second win of the day, but with an element of good fortune when race leader John Lofthouse from Manchester slowed up near the finish.
In fact, I slowed a little on the last couple of laps, knowing that I had a good margin, and I thought, this is it, you know, my first international win light in front of Joey as well, you know. And when I ran out of fuel going into the chicane there, I couldn't believe me luck.
The Group 1 production race was dominated by the Loctite Yamaha team, a team managed by former Northwest favourite Steve Parrish. Trevor Nation just pipped teammate Jeff Johnson on the line, and Yamaha's other man, Barry Woodland, took fourth place behind Brian Morrison.
It was a very hard race. It was, you know, very fiercely contested, and I thought I'd showed my hand too soon by sort of leading it as early as I did, and I was very anxious all the way, you know, like plus nothing on my pit board every time I saw it. And the last corner, in particular, I made a right mess of. You know, I went into the right-hander too deep, and the left-hander was all wrong, and I thought I'd really blown it. But
good day for Yamaha.
Oh yes, 1-2 there. Well, 1-2 and 4. I think they were really pleased with that. I know I was.
And for you, the fastest time, 117, yes. I think.
Yeah. Oh well, that's incredible, isn't it? 117 on a road bike round here. It's not far off the all that record, that.
Next race of the day was the Junior Northwest 200 for the smaller bikes. And on lap 1 at the Juniper Hill chicane, it was Dubliner Eddie Laycock tussling for the lead with Gary Khan, with Laycock nipping through to take the lead. Woolsey Coulter, Brian Reid, Stephen Cull and Carl Fogarty were next through, but Dunlop was missing. Once again, he'd stalled on the grid. By lap 3, Eddie Laycock had stretched his lead. Brian Reid was lying second. Gary Khan was next through in third. And Stephen Cull was fourth. At the finish, there was no question who would win. Eddie Laycock coming through to take the flag, the Dubliner repeating his 250 win of 1986. But as we looked for Brian Reid in second place, he'd been caught by Gary Khan, who took the runners-up spot. And after a tail-ender went through, Stephen Cull came in to take fourth place, with Mark Farmer from Portadown just behind in fifth.
It was a bit tricky there towards the end. The rain started coming down. One of the turns there, I lost the two wheels going around that left-hand bend, so it was getting very tricky, but we managed it. I was delighted because I had a breakdown in the first 250, 350 race, so that made up for it anyway.
Winners like Laycock and the big names like Dunlop and Marshall will obviously grab most of the headlines. But at the other end of the scale, there's the newcomers, some of them making their first appearance at the Northwest. One of them was Leslie McMaster from Castlereagh, who's been taken under the wing of Davy Wood, Joey Dunlop's manager. Leslie finished 19th in the 350 race, but took a fall in the process.
Well, I don't know what I put it down to. I think it was running on an intermediate tire in the front and I should have had a slick on. I think just it overheated in the end. But these things happen, that's racing.
And getting back to finish 19th, happy enough?
Yeah, well, I was well pleased.
What I like about him is he's making every effort himself. A number of the young chaps, I find, if you don't buy them 2 bikes, a Mercedes van and 3 pairs of leathers, I think they're badly done by. With this man, no, he accepts and appreciates the help he's getting, and he's putting everything he's got into it as well.
Manager Wood's main man certainly puts everything into it, and Joey Dunlop is now getting ready for the big one, the Track's International Northwest 200, where victory will give him a hat-trick of wins. This time Dunlop will ride the Honda 500. And with rain threatening again, there's more activity on the grid as riders change their minds about choice of tyres. Dunlop is everybody's favourite to win, but the men who can deny him the treble will share the front row of the grid. Local boy Alan Irwin, Phil Miller, again on the 1100 Suzuki, and Roger Marshall. But after his mishap in the Superbike race, is the 750 Suzuki firing on all cylinders?
Yeah, everything's ready again. It feels good, it looks good, and, you know, I'm ready to go. I'm just hope I can do it this time.
When the flag dropped, it was Phil Miller who led around the first corner. Marshall was there, so too were Brian Morrison and Dave Leach. Dunlop was 5th and Alan Irwin 8th. On lap 2, Dunlop was in front of Miller and they'd opened a gap. Alan Irwin had found his way through to 3rd. But as the rest of the field came through, once again there was no Roger Marshall. More bike problems had forced him into the pits. Starting lap 3, Dunlop was well clear. Miller was still 2nd, but Irwin was getting close. Roger Marshall had reappeared, but didn't look happy and was well out of it. By lap 4, Dunlop was well in front. But the battle was hotting up behind him, where Irwin was now 2nd, with Miller in his slipstream. At the end of lap 5, Dunlop was still in command. And Irwin was winning the dice with Miller for 2nd place. Great racing with no quarter asked or given. At the finish, Dunlop was to get his hat-trick, bringing the Honda home in style. But look at the race for 2nd place. Alan Irwin just holding on to pimp Phil Miller. But local hero Dunlop had done it, his 11th win over the Northwest Circuit. He was also only the 3rd man to achieve a Northwest treble. Tony Rutter had done it in 1978, the late John Williams in 1974.
After the disappointing start you've had to the season, to do the treble at the Northwest, what does that do for your confidence now?
I hope it does a whole lot. I'm quite happy, you know. It's great to get a good one in the road race before the DT. You know, that's my first road race this year.
You're a bit behind in the World Championship, the Formula One World Championship. Do you feel this confidence you can now build in that and retain that crown possibly?
No, I think I can. I think Honda will maybe do something because, you know, I'm riding well enough now and I think they realise that.
Hands together for our world champion, Dunlop.
So quite a day then at the Northwest for our world champion Joey Dunlop with that treble. We stay with Speed Sport, this time 4-wheel,